Hello, friends. I know there's a lot of really burning issues that people are interested in talking about today. Little things like the US presidential election, like the war in Ukraine, like inflation, like are we going into recession? Just, issues like that. But today I wanted to talk about another issue, which has been ongoing for a long time, progressive, insidious, and pernicious. Because this year, it really came home to me. Talking about free speech. And yes, Amazon, I'm talking about you. So let me explain. By the way, when I first thought about making this video, I was feeling angry. Now I think I feel more sad than I do angry. But let's go back in time. At this point, I think I've had a personal computer for the majority of my life. But like many other people that are roughly my age, my life spans the Great Divide, where in the first part of it, there were no personal computers and there was no internet. And then they came out and they've been growing ever since. And nowadays, say most Americans have access to a personal computer and they have access to the internet and they use it all the time. Well, I was an early adopter of some of the earliest PCs ever made, and I was an early adopter of the internet. And about the same time, a little company called Amazon was formed by Jeff Bezos. And as many of you know, it started out as an online bookseller. But Bezos had a much bigger idea in mind. His idea was to sell everything to everyone all around the world at the lowest possible price and with the fastest possible delivery, because that's what the customer wanted. And to a large degree, he has succeeded. Well, there are some countries like I think Russia and certainly China where Amazon really does not have a foothold. And I don't know what percentage of its sales are international sales, but we're in the US, and I think the majority of the sales take place in here. And Amazon is the largest retailer in the United States. Okay, so I got an Amazon account after it. I think by the time I got it, it was selling some other things besides books. I have bought a lot of stuff from Amazon over the decades. And yes, liberal friends of mine, some of them said, don't buy from Amazon. They're going to put small businesses out of business. They're going to hurt local businesses. Well, I'm sure they have put many local businesses out of business. I don't know how many. But, to some degree, that's the way business works in the United States. Some companies die, other companies are formed and thrive and grow. Anyhow, it didn't deter me because of the convenience factor. It was mainly the convenience factor. If I want to buy something like duct tape, but I don't want it to look aluminum colored, I want it in a color that kind of matches whatever I'm taping it to. Where do I go? Where do I go now? I could go to Ace Hardware. They probably won't have it. I could go to Walmart. I actually haven't looked, but I kind of doubt they have it. I don't know. Or I could just go to Amazon. Oh, there's 10 different colors of this tape that I could buy. Bang. Supposing I need a replacement power cable to my keyboard, which I did. And I could go to Best Buy. They might have it, they might not. They probably do not have it as a standalone product. They probably just sell the whole package. Radio Shack, that's gone. Where do I go? Amazon. Got $9.95, had it in a couple of days. problem solved. You want a DVD of some movie that came out 10 years ago. Amazon has it. You want a book, and so on and so forth. Amazon has it. It's like one-stop shopping. I don't know how much I spent through Amazon over the decades. I'm sure it's over 100,000. Could be quite a bit more. I really have no idea. I mean, I remember buying a computer that was a printer. I'm sorry, a fancy printer. Early on in the history of personal printers, this thing could do metallic foil prints too. A couple of $1,000s from Amazon. I remember getting a fancy monitor from Amazon. Yeah, everything from products that cost, like I say, maybe a couple of $1,000s to a product that costs $9.95 or even less. Go to Amazon, there it is. Go to some other store, they may or may not have it. Oftentimes they don't have it. How many stores do you want to look at? Therein lies the danger. Amazon, like I said, is the nation's biggest retailer. They're big. Okay, then they came out with Amazon Prime, and they came out with Amazon Video. And they started making their own videos. Here's the rub. Here's where it gets personal. Some of their own videos I thought were excellent. Some were bad, and a good number were mediocre. Amazon also instituted customer reviews. So any Amazon registered customer could leave a review about a product. And if you had actually bought the product, they would indicate that, yeah, you actually bought it here. You would leave a review. I left, I don't know how many reviews, many dozens of reviews. Got to the point where if I bought something, that the seller would send an email to me asking me to review their product too. And I always tried to make my reviews honest, respectful, but honest. I usually upgraded the score some from what I thought it really warranted. Amazon uses a 5-star review system. You can't give anything 0 stars. I mean, the worst you can do is a 1 star. That means you thought it was horrible. Of course, the best you can do is a 5-star. Well, there were products that I definitely thought were inferior. I would give them a 3-star review, which means kind of average, But then in my comments or in the text, I would point out some good features, but then some features that the customers might find problematic. Well, Amazon produced a product a couple of years ago, Rings of Power. Here's where my problems originated. It's based in the Tolkien Lord of the Rings universe. They bought the rights to do some Amazon Prime videos. And they made this season 1. And it was terrible. It was truly terrible. I actually can't think of an aspect of making a movie or a TV series that was truly good in Rings of Power. And almost all the reviewers felt the same. And the audiences felt the same too. It got terrible reviews. This thing, Amazon wouldn't publish bad reviews. Well, after I watched season 1, I wrote a review, tried to post it on Amazon. I gave it 3 stars. But I mentioned, some of the problems in my review. They rejected it. They wouldn't publish it. Even though it was 3 stars, that's not bad. Just, middling. I mean, if someone were really a Tolkien enthusiast and they said 3 stars, they'd probably say, well, I'll give it a try, No, they wouldn't publish it. I tried rewriting a review and toning down my comments. I didn't eliminate them. I tone them down on this one particular aspect. Okay, I'll go into it. I was trying to avoid this because it deserved one or more videos all by itself, but it's about attempting to force inclusiveness where it doesn't really belong. Here in the Lord of the Rings world, Tolkien's world, I'm talking about Amazon making multi-racial dwarves. The dwarves were not multiracial. They were a single race. They all looked more or less the same. Like, I don't know, if you go to Iceland, most people look more or less the same. They were one race. They even only had one language, the Dwarven language. Elves were also one race. Now, they were multicultural because they had at least two different languages. Read the Lord of the Rings closely, you know that. Now, in their universe, humans were multiracial, as we are. We're all the same species. We're just talking about differences in skin tone, eye color, hair color, other minor differences. We're all one species, but we look different. So, and that was, you could see that in Tolkien's novels. He didn't dwell on it too much. And in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he refers to Southerners that were darker skinned. So, you know what he's talking about. It wasn't a prominent feature, but it was there. Well, Amazon had to make multiracial dwarves, had to make multiracial elves, just so that they could say they were being inclusive. Well, I like people of all different skin shades and eye colors and hair colors and proclivities and interests. I do. And there are some people that are much on the surface like me that I don't particularly like. What I don't like is forcing diversity into a setting where it didn't exist, shouldn't really be there. In a real life version, comes to mind a couple of World War II movies that Clint Eastwood filmed. And I think it was Spike Lee criticized him. Why don't you have any black soldiers? And Eastwood replied saying, you know what? I forget the exact percentage, but 98 or let's stick with 90. 98% of the troops, U.S. troops in World War II were white. If you want to make a movie about black World War II fighters, be my guest, but don't criticize mine because I'm just showing it the way it was. I think the black troops were segregated too, right? Their own separate units. I don't know all the proper military terms. Troops were still segregated too. By the time of the Vietnam War, it was an altogether different matter. Then we had truly had multi-ethnic, multiracial troops fighting in Vietnam. But I digress. Okay, so that was one thing I mentioned in my reviews that I think got Amazon's goat. I don't think it was solely that I didn't give it a 4 or 5 star, although I know for a fact that they just refused to publish many reviews that were 2-star, 1-star, and they also own or have a controlling interest in supposedly independent movie rating company, and they suppressed bad reviews there too. Well, after my second attempt to publish a review through Amazon of their product, and both of them being rejected, I got kind of mad, and I did a YouTube video. I'm sure you can find it if you look for it. And there I uncorked the bottle. I talked about how bad Lord of the Rings was in every aspect, everything. The dialogue, the plot, the acting, the directing, even the special effects, the CGI. None of it was as good as it should have been. And it certainly wasn't at all true to Tolkien's world, it was a desecration of a masterpiece, Tolkien's original. I think somehow, I'm convinced, Amazon somehow spotted this, even though not very many people watched my video. I think Amazon saw it. What they did then? I'll tell you what they did. They deleted every single review of anything that I had ever published on Amazon. Didn't matter if it was 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, or about what it was. I mean, almost all my reviews were of products not made by Amazon. They were just a third-party seller. They deleted everything. But this was clearly punitive. They wanted to punish me, possibly to the maximum extent that they could do without breaking a law somehow. So, stepping back, here's the danger to our society. Large corporations have far too much control over your life, including in this case, over aspects of your ability to speak truthfully as you see and understand the truth. Where do hackers go now if they want to, say, get into your credit card? They don't target you as an individual anymore. They hack a large corporate database, whether it's your hospital network or whether it's Amazon or Neiman Marcus or any other corporation that you've dealt with. And hackers have stole personal data, including in many cases, social security numbers, credit card numbers, dates of birth, everything, from hundreds of millions of users that don't even know that their data was stolen. And that's not even going into the kinds of punitive and self-serving actions that corporations can take, the big corporations that just about monopolize a particular business. So I decided I was going to boycott Amazon. I've tried not to buy their products. And it's hard not to buy their products. It's hard. I thought, okay, Walmart.com. Walmart has an online shopping thing. I'll sign up for that. They're I think the second biggest retailer after Amazon. They sell all kinds of stuff. I tried placing an order for 2 types of cat food from Walmart. Well, one of them took about 2 weeks to arrive. And this is a month later. The other order, it still hasn't arrived. I did get one email saying your delivery has been postponed without any prospective delivery date at all. Like maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. Cross your fingers. Well, cats are hungry. In the meantime, they want to be fed a couple times a day, the spoiled little things. They're clearly not ready to compete with Amazon. I think back to Sears. Remember, Sears started as a remote ordering company. It was by catalog. Remember, before there was an internet, Sears did a very good business. Then they went into building retail stores, and they were pretty successful at that. Then the internet happened, and Sears failed to create a robust internet presence, and now they're just about gone. There used to be a Sears store here where I live. There isn't anymore. They failed, even though they were ideally poised. Walmart is clearly not doing a very good job at competing with Amazon so far. They could maybe double their company value if they had the kind of robust online retailing that could compete with Amazon, but they're not. It's hard to avoid buying. I'm trying to. They don't care. But you know what? If millions of customers either got irritated at the way Amazon was treating them, like I did, or just realized that This is too much power to be in one corporate hands. They don't really have your interests at heart. They have their own interests at heart. Where it serves their interest to satisfy you, they will do so. But if they feel like pleasing you is harmful to them, they don't care. They'll do what is best for them. That's all I have today. Feel free to, hit that like button or hit subscribe button. I don't put out videos that often. Maybe I can do them more often. Share, leave comments, whatever. Thank you again for listening to my quiet rant. Bye.